Special Forces or Special Operations Forces, SOF, are military units trained to conduct special operations. NATO has defined special operations as military activities conducted by specially designated, organized, selected, trained and equipped forces using unconventional techniques and modes of employment. In Russian-speaking countries, special forces of any country are typically called Spetsnaz, an acronym for Special Purpose. In the United States, the term Special Forces often refers specifically to the U.S. Army Special Forces. Special Forces emerged in the early 20th century, with a significant growth in the field during World War II. Special Forces have played an important role throughout the history of warfare. And today, we'll be talking about two of the elite teams: United States Army Special Forces, SF, and Russia Spetsgruppe A, also known as Alpha Group. The United States Army Special Forces, SF, colloquially known as the Green Berets due to their distinctive service headgear, are a special operations force of the United States Army. The Green Berets are geared towards 9 doctrinal missions: unconventional warfare, foreign internal defense, direct action, counterterrorism, counterinsurgency, special reconnaissance, information operations, counterproliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and security force assistance. They are capable of hostage rescue and combat search and rescue if they are needed. The unit emphasizes language, cultural, and training skills in working with foreign troops. Recruits are required to learn a foreign language as part of their training and must maintain knowledge of the political, economic, and cultural complexities of the regions in which they are deployed. As special operations units, special forces are not necessarily under the command authority of the ground commanders in those countries. Instead, while in theater, SF units may report directly to a Geographic Combatant Command, USACOM, or other command authorities. The Central Intelligence Agency CIA, the Special Forces soldier trains on a regular basis over the course of their entire career. The initial formal training program for entry into Special Forces is divided into 4 phases collectively known as the Special Forces Qualification Course or, informally, the Q Course. The length of the Q course changes depending on the applicant's primary job field within Special Forces and their assigned foreign language capability, but will usually last between 55 and 95 weeks. After successfully completing the Special Forces Qualification Course, Special Forces soldiers are then eligible for many advanced skills courses. These include, but are not limited to, the Military Free Fall Parachutist Course, MFF, the Combat Diver Qualification Course, the Special Operations Combat Medic Course, the Special Forces Sniper Course, SFSE, among others. In June 1952, the 10th Special Forces Group, Airborne, was formed under Colonel Aaron Bank, soon after the establishment of the Psychological Warfare School, which eventually became John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and School. The 10th Special Forces Group, Airborne, was split, with the cadre that kept the designation 10th SFG deployed to Bad Tölz, Germany, in September 1953. The remaining cadre at Fort Bragg formed the 77th Special Forces Group, which in May 1960 was reorganized and designated as today's 7th Special Forces Group. Since their establishment in 1952, Special Forces soldiers have operated in Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, North Vietnam, Guatemala, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Colombia, Panama, Haiti, Somalia, Bosnia, Kosovo, First Gulf War, Afghanistan, Iraq, the Philippines, Syria, Yemen, Niger and, in East Africa. The Special Forces Branch was established as a basic branch of the United States Army on April 9, 1987 by Department of the Army General. Every mission hinges on battlefield awareness. It's the job of Air Force Special Reconnaissance, SR, to provide it, any place, any time. These special warfare airmen, deploy by any means, from airborne, maritime, or land-based platforms, deep behind enemy lines to collect and exploit key information, develop targets, and tilt the battle space in our favor. Performing on the cutting edge of technology, SR surveil and prepare the battle space to provide global access, air, space, and cyberspace superiority. Because Special Forces team members must be prepared to go anywhere in the world, they train and work in all climates, weather conditions, and settings. They may dive from submarines or small underwater craft. Special Forces team members may also be exposed to harsh temperatures, often without protection, during missions in enemy-controlled areas. Most of the time, however, they work and train on military bases, ships, or submarines. Enough about the United States. Now let's move to the Russians. Spetsgruppe A, also known as Alpha Group, a popular English name, or Alpha, whose official name is Directorate A of the FSB Special Purpose Center, TSN FSB, Russian, is an elite standalone subunit of Russia's special forces within the Russian Federal Security Service FSB. It was created by the Soviet KGB in 1974. Although little is known about the exact nature of its primary directives, it is speculated that the unit is authorized to act under the direct control and sanction of Russia's top political leadership, similar to its sister unit, the Directorate V, Vimpel, which is officially tasked with protecting Russia's strategic installations, as well as conducting black operations inside and outside Russia. It is also available for extended police duties, for paramilitary operations, and for covert operations, both domestically and internationally. On July 28, 1974, Alpha Group was created on the orders of the KGB chairman, Yuri Andropov, in the aftermath of the 1972 Munich massacre. It might have been established as a response to West Germany's creation of the Grenzschutzgruppe 9, or the GSG-9. By attaching a special purpose unit to the office of the first chief, Directorate in Moscow, later the 7th Directorate, it was hoped that the Soviet Union's defensive capacity against terrorist attacks would increase significantly. Soon, Alpha was assigned missions far exceeding its formal scope. On December 27, 1979, Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev launched a surprise armed intervention and regime change operation in the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan. Soviet forces, including KGB commandos who had infiltrated the country on a pretense to guard the Soviet embassy in which, during a 34-minute storming, they successfully assassinated President Hafizullah Amin, along with his mistress and his young son. The orders were to kill every Afghan in the building. The assault on Tajbek Palace was given the name Operation Storm 333. 6 years later, in October 1985, Alpha Group was dispatched to war-torn Beirut, Lebanon. The Kremlin was informed of the kidnapping of 4 Soviet diplomats by the militant group, the Islamic Liberation Organization, a radical offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. It was believed that this was retaliation for the Soviet support of Syrian involvement in the Lebanese civil war. However, by the time Alpha arrived, one of the hostages had already been killed. Through a network of supporting KGB operatives, members of the task force identified each of the perpetrators involved in the crisis, and once identified, began to take the relatives of these militants as hostages. Following the standard Soviet policy of no negotiations with terrorists, one of the hostages taken by Alpha Group had his testicles removed and sent to the militants before being killed. The warning was clear: more would follow unless the remaining hostages were released immediately. The show of force worked, and, for a period of 20 years, no Soviet or Russian officials were taken captive. Today, the Alpha Group remains one of Russia's most elite and secretive special forces units, tasked with safeguarding Russian officials and conducting counterterrorism operations. Where Alpha appears, compromise stops. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Like, subscribe, and comment.